Another way that we can represent a circle and ultimately get the equation of that circle is if we know facts about the circle, like the endpoints of a diameter. So I always like to sketch a really rough picture just so I have a visual of what I am doing. This picture says write the equation of a circle whose diameter endpoints are at 1, 4, and -3, -2. I don't have to worry about being correct on a coordinate system. You can, but really I just visually want to see that I have something like this. So that tells my brain I need a center. Well, the center would be right here. The center is in the midpoint of that diameter. So I'm going to use the midpoint formula. And so I'm going to find that my center, my HK, is the midpoint of that diameter. So I have -3 plus 1 divided by 2, -2 plus 4 divided by 2. And so I have -2 divided by 2, so I have -1. +2 divided by 2, I have 1. So my center is at -1, 1. The next thing I need is a radius. Now that, I'm going to need the distance formula. So you could, two different ways to do it. You could find the distance of the length of the diameter and divide it by 2, because that's how radius and diameter are related. Or you could find the distance, the length of the radius, because now we know the center. I'm typically a little bit more inclined to want to use given information, because what if I messed up the midpoint? Then the rest of my problem is going to be wrong. So I'm actually going to show you the length of the diameter and cut it in half. If you want to use from the center out, that is also a correct way to do this. So for our purposes, I'm going to do the length of the diameter. And so that is equal to the square root of -3 minus 1, the quantity squared, plus -2 minus 4, the quantity squared. So I have -4 squared plus -6 squared, all still under the square root. That's the square root of 16 plus 36. Again, please note that those are always positive. 16 plus 36 is the square root of 52. I'm going to leave that as a square root of 52. That is the length of the diameter. So that means the radius is the square root of 52 divided by 2. I know that looks kind of ugly, but when I put it into my equation, it's actually going to clean up pretty nicely for me. So now I can finally write my equation. So I have x minus 1, the quantity squared, plus y minus 1, the quantity squared, using HK, is equal to that radius squared, the square root of 52 over 2 squared. Always make sure you put the radius in there, not the diameter. Clean this up. Minus and minus is plus. Y minus 1, the quantity squared, equals. Now, this squaring goes to everything. So the square root of 52 squared is just 52. The square root of 2 squared, rather, is 4. That can be cleaned up. And so I have x plus 1, the quantity squared, plus y minus 1, the quantity squared, is equal to 13, because 52 divided by 4 is 13. If you had calculated the radius, you would have gotten the square root of 13. So then 13 squared. That is the equation for this circle.